you should do physical activity because it makes you feel good. It adds to your overall health and you have fun doing it.
I am excited for this video today because we had the opportunity to interview one of my friends, Heather Daye, who is the owner of Studio86 Fitness in Columbus, Ohio. The reason that we were inspired to talk to her, obviously she's an entrepreneur. She built this business from scratch. That in and of itself is enough to want to pick her brain and give you all watching any tips and tricks that she has. But the thing that really got my mind thinking was the Instagram post she had of that she literally opened this new in-person fitness business 2 weeks before the quarantine happened. And so that just blew my mind, and her business is still operating and functioning. And so she is just such a perfect person to talk to right now for our part 3 in our COVID and entrepreneurship series right now. So here's our interview.
So my studio is called Studio86 Fitness. It's a boutique fitness studio offering group and private training in Pilates, jumping fitness, which is individual trampoline rebounders, and yoga. I originally started it out as an online studio back in 2019. And when I moved back to Columbus, Ohio, I decided I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to open a brick and mortar. And so then I opened the brick and mortar studio here in Columbus, March 1st, 2020. Built this all myself. In 2018, I decided I wanted something more of my own, put something of my own out there into the world. I asked so many people who film and were available to me, how do you make a subscription website? How do you film fitness videos? And no one could answer me. Google and YouTube, and figured it out, got cheap equipment to start off with, launched the site, built the site from scratch myself, did it all on my own. Had to stop asking other people, what would you do? How do you help me? Because no one could say anything. They were just like, I don't know what you're doing.
So what inspired you to go from the online model to in person?
Shortly after I launched the online website, I had some life changes in LA. I'm going to go back to my hometown, be closer to my family. So I moved back here, and I have other jobs. I like these other jobs. I still have them now. I decided late, maybe September, October 2019 to start looking for spaces, and ended up signing a lease on a space in November of 2019. Waited through all the holiday season, all the walls, all the construction. I got the keys early February. So I had pretty much all of February to finish laying the floor, painting the walls, getting guys in here to hang up the mirrors. And then I was ready to open. And you kind of knew in the back of your head, like, probably gonna have to shut down soon because of a virus that may or may not already be here. But there's no stopping that train. I had to open. I had marketing out. Everything was ready. So I opened for as long as I could.
For the 2 weeks that you were open, what kind of marketing strategy and things did you do to get your customers in class?
So before my official opening date of March 2nd, I had Saturday and Sunday before that of just free classes. And I launched, I think, one Google ad. I got featured on my scheduling app, which is Vigaro. And then I posted on Instagram, which had probably 100 people following it at that time. Columbus being the city that it is, there's lots of word of mouth. Everyone wants their friends to come do things with them. Those classes filled up in 72 hours.
The idea is that they enjoyed the class so much that they'll come back and pay for it. I think your strategy of believing in your product, not to call you a product, but believing in it enough to offer it for free because you know they're going to come back later is stellar. Out of all of those tools that you used, which one do you feel like gave you the most traction, I guess?
Bizarrely, it was Vigaro, because people, I guess, just search around for some cheap deal that they can find, and they try new things here a lot. That's how most people found me. Some people said they just searched randomly Pilates on Google, and then people bring friends. Going forward, I think that's going to be the biggest marketing push, is that referral system. I just launched it 2 weeks ago, a referral program where if you bring a friend and your friend buys a package, that existing client gets a 10% discount credit, and they can do that as many times as they wish. My neighborhood, Clintonville, is very hippie. They really don't like franchises.
Yeah.
But a
Oh,
lot of people walk in, and because of the branding that I've done on this place, they think this is a franchise. They're always surprised, like, oh, wow. And I was like, great. I'm glad you think I'm like up here.
But it looks like a franchise made the graphics and set it up. And
I mean, your signage alone is beautiful. I will have pictures, by the way.
is that actually potentially a deterrent? Is there something that you need to do or do to make it known that it's, privately owned?
Not really, because once people find out that it is privately owned, they're a lot more like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I want to support you because you're a small business, and then the owner is me. Like, I'm there in person.
Right.
Talking to them about it, they get really excited, and that's just nice to see, to have that support. And that's part of the reason I came back to my hometown, is this city is very welcoming to small businesses and very supportive to small businesses, and the market is not oversaturated.
When you're getting the studio space, obviously you did in Columbus, did you look at any spaces in LA when you were here, or was it just not even in the question because the costs in LA are so much more?
For a really hot minute, I thought about real estate in LA, and then was just no. This way, moving back, I have the support of my family, and I definitely would not have had that staying in LA. It would have been significantly harder because I'm doing this by myself. I don't have a business partner. Trying to get teachers to stick around is a challenge just normally, and then you add a pandemic to it where all of a sudden everyone became a business owner online.
Are you actually able to leverage those skills you built to put things online and to have that service available online?
I was definitely in a much, much better position as a business than many other studios across the country, even across the world, because I already had equipment. I already kind of understood lighting, sound, how to frame for fitness, the shot, and I could just go. So the first 2 weeks that I had to shut down, I just pumped out content for my online subscribers and started to figure out, what is this Zoom thing that everyone's doing? Vagaro, within 3 weeks of the shutdown, Vagaro integrated with Zoom. And I didn't have to figure anything out. I just clicked a button. I was like, sweet. My main sticking point was, why did a whole industry undercut itself and just blurt out free content? I would say that was the biggest hurdle for me during the shutdown. As a small business that like nobody knew, I did not have a lot of existing clientele. Even my online subscriber number was very small. All of a sudden I had people emailing me, DMing me on Instagram, where's your free content? Where's your free content? What are you going to give me? I want this. I'm not going to give you free content. Like, You're not even a client. But they were asking that and expecting that now, because you had large corporations, you had Pilates Anytime, Yoga Anytime, all these bigger online presence companies were giving out free content like crazy. Every teacher you knew was then doing Instagram live stream for free. And so the rest of us who are already in the online sphere and not a big corporation, who still needed to pay bills and make money, we're just kind of sitting there like, can you please pay me? Thanks. Like, I'm teaching you. That was probably the biggest struggle, is balancing. I understand you lost your job. You can take class for free, and all these other people who didn't lose their jobs and are working from home still wanting the free content.
How do you feel like you got past that hurdle?
I offered free content for 1 week and then told people who had come in, if you are out of work, please talk to me, because then you can continue to take for free. We will work that out. And a lot of those people stuck around and now pay me because their jobs came back, they got new jobs, what have you.
Right.
There are people that did also take advantage of that and lie to me, saying they lost their jobs when they really didn't. Eventually that comes to light. I eventually figured that out, and they are no longer clients here. So it's a balancing act of, how much do you want to give of myself? How much do I want to give that out to people? And how much do I need to protect what I'm worth, what my business is worth, and make it known that I am worth being paid.
That is such a valuable lesson for everybody. The fact that you have all that lined up and do it so well and seamlessly is awesome. We've struggled with that too, obviously, like, underpricing our products and thinking that we need to sell to a certain clientele or market that just isn't true. And And you're totally right. Like the people that are going to be your clients and interested in your product, they're going to stick around, and you're obviously a very nice person offering the ability for them to reduce costs if they have trouble. Those are your clients anyway. So, changing your model and trying to figure out, well, how do I make money if I'm offering all free content? It's not your clients anyway.
I had a little bit of luxury being in Ohio. California shut down 1 week before we did here. I had the luxury of watching everyone in California freak out all over social media. And I'm going, how do you come back from just offering free everything? And how do you get people who maybe have never seen you before find you online? How do you convince them to pay you? Well, I'm not going to convince someone to pay me. They either are or they aren't. I'm not going to bend over backwards to get people to want to pay me if they aren't going to begin with.
It was so smart. I really appreciate your transparency, like with your clients, and letting people know, hey, I get it. We're all struggling right now. Let's work together to make this happen.
I think transparency at this point in the world is super important and very valued, and just not something you get on a daily basis. So
absolutely.
It's definitely important. Nothing against any of the previous jobs I've had, but they're definitely more, I would say, old school mindset in not being very open to clients, to teachers. I always told new teachers that I worked with at my other jobs that your clients will find you. Don't try to be everyone's favorite, because it's never going to happen. Just like not everyone you meet in life is going to like you.
I still try so hard. But you are so right. And I love that. So I have a couple of like logistical kind of nitty-gritty questions. When you went into this pandemic and this shutdown, are you renting the space?
I am renting the space, yeah.
Did what people expect from you stay the same?
Like financially?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I lucked out. I negotiated my lease, and my real estate agent really pushed hard for me as well to have 90 days rent abatement. So I had half of the shutdown not owing rent, but I still had all my other bills. That saved me, just that alone. So I really could not then come back and ask them, hey, can I just not pay you the rest of my rent or half of my rent? So I went into May. We're still in shutdown in May, and that's when all of the bills in full started. And so I made sure I paid in full.
And so how do you feel like your business was going in the pandemic as far as being able to keep up with the bills and paying your teachers and things like that?
Well, my teacher fled the city, so I didn't have to pay a teacher because she just left.
Oh my God. Okay.
I spent the whole shutdown not being able to offer yoga, which is part of the whole thing that I offer. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Yoga is so easy to do at home, but at the same time, I wasn't in a position to bring on anyone else that I didn't really know. People weren't really looking for work at that point either. So I just left it. I was like, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to offer what I teach, and that's a guaranteed thing in this moment in time. It was definitely a huge challenge. I am still using savings, trying to make all the numbers work. It's only been recently that I've broken even from what clients have been paying.
That's great. I mean, you really haven't been open that long to
and
now
during a pandemic.
Yeah, and during a pandemic, and now you're breaking even. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I definitely can't be sad about that.
So as far as the pandemic is concerned, I know you're actually going back to the studio now, but was there anything that you implemented during the pandemic that you actually weren't planning on doing that you liked and that you're going to keep moving forward?
The live stream. It had not even ever dawned on me, as I'm sure it did not even dawn on anyone else, that that's something they could do in fitness. So classes, all of my classes can be scheduled. Again, this is all thanks to Vigaro. I can schedule a single class as both in studio booking spots and live stream booking spots. And then while I'm teaching that class, I can live stream it simultaneously to anyone at home. In theory, it allows countless people to be in one class if they choose to do it that way. Do I have 50 people in my classes? No. I'm a new business. Most people do not have trampolines in their home. So it definitely is slow to catch on. Most of the contacts and connections I have are on the West Coast. So there's a 3-hour time difference. Are they going to do a live stream class? Most of them don't. I do have some that take every week with me still. I will keep that going as long as clients want the live stream feature. It stays. That's bringing in money. Why would I get rid of that?
As obviously horrible as this all is, like that capability came out of this a little bit. So moving forward, that might be a benefit that wouldn't have been there before, or wouldn't have flourished, and people wouldn't have understood it or participated.
Exactly. It's weird to say that a pandemic boosted and benefited my business, because who's to say that had this not happened, I didn't have to shut down, my classes might be consistently full at this point. I have no idea. I have nothing to compare it to. But I think in the long run, all these things I've had to learn and implement at the very start, no one had any pre-existing notion of what my business and what my classes should be like. And I could do whatever I wanted. And so I think it was a huge benefit to someone like me, where I could easily pivot because no one had any expectation otherwise. And other businesses couldn't and still refuse and just are like putting their foot on the brake to not want to change and adapt. And that's how you don't survive, if you don't change and adapt.
I'm not surprised that you are this capable, but the fact that you literally built this business completely by yourself, it is so impressive to me. What was one of the biggest things or hardest things that you learned? It doesn't have to be pandemic specific, but just setting up your business in general.
From the very start, trying to get a business loan, no one's going to give you money. It doesn't matter how good your personal credit is. It doesn't matter that I had both of my parents try to co-sign for it. I made my dad at one point a co-owner of the business. That didn't help. So trying to get funding to start the business was the biggest hurdle, the biggest lesson. And I'm just sitting there going, how does anyone start a business? Like, where does anyone get the money to do this? And I was lucky enough to have a family member essentially loan me the money to buy the Pilates equipment and pay for the building sign. Otherwise, everything else I put on credit cards. I had a personal loan I took out. So I've been slowly chipping away at all of my personal debt before trying to pay back my family member.
That's one of my favorite things of the 21st century, that quote of, oh, everybody just build it up, by your bootstraps. And, oh, I just had a small $1 million loan from my family. Like, that's how we got started. We had the same thing. We were operating for a long time, had a ton of employees, and went to Capital One and went to get credit cards, and they're like, oh, your limit's $2,000 for all employees. It's like, what? What do you expect us to do there? Like, do you need to show like revenue and profits and things like that? Because we had that. It's insane that there are no abilities for businesses to get started. Maybe SBA, but that's a difficult process too. So.
Ugh, I don't even want to deal with that.
Exactly.
By far, it's baby boomers. It's like our parents' generation. You can do it, what you just said, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and build it from scratch yourself. Okay, do you want to give me money to do it?
Yeah. You know how much rent is? Like, these machines cost money.
Well, it's interesting though. I feel like a lot of things are set up, like the titles of things, like the titles of loans and different laws and things, the way that they are set up, they sound good, but then like you actually go to try to get one of these loans, when you actually read the fine print, it really is not for everyone. So that when people are talking about, hey, the system is really not set up for everyone to thrive, it is 100% true.
And I had plenty of friends here in Columbus who have small businesses, and the business is basically just them. And they didn't have anyone helping them. Like my father's a CPA. So
Ooh,
he was
nice.
on top of it. He knew what information I needed. He knew how I needed to go about applying to get approved and get the PPP loan and get the SBA grant that I didn't have to pay back. But there's people out there who could have gotten this money as well, and they're just sitting there like, it's too much, it's too hard, I don't even want to look at it, like I can't process this information, because they are the artistic brain and the business brain is just not there for them, and it's too much and it's too stressful. So it's hard for a lot of people, and it's also not available, just legally not available for a lot of businesses to even try to grasp.
Well, I also love your attitude though of, hey, I don't know this, I'm going to learn, I'm going to ask questions. You didn't seem to be afraid that people would start doubting you for asking questions. It was literally like, this is what needs to get done, and so I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to Google it, and I'm going to just figure it out. And that is the best attitude to have, hands down. You also have another layer on top of setting up your business because it is a fitness program. So you also have, actually, I don't know like the laws in Columbus of like insurance and liability and all of it. Oh, look at her face.
I had to actually figure all of that out when I launched the website. So trampoline classes use music. I already knew I needed to pay for licensing fees. At that point in time, when I was looking at all of the different licensing music pro organizations, Peloton was being sued for that exact problem. Let me make sure I'm covered to the best of my knowledge. And so I did email BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, GMR, all four in the US, and ask them, this is what I'm doing. Tell me exactly what I need to pay you and exactly what license I need. And they were all more than helpful. I have all the digital licenses I need. And now I have the studio licenses. They are two separate fees I get to pay every year to not only offer music in my online classes, but to also offer music in the studio. The catch with that is, you can only use music that are listed in their repertoires. So any song I look to play for my trampoline classes, I have to double check in those 4 databases to make sure that I can legally use that song. That's a lot of work. Most teachers, A, don't even know that they should be doing, and B, they aren't even going to do it, because what are the chances that they're going to get caught?
That's the like doing it and asking for forgiveness later versus finding out up front, which I'm more comfortable with, and obviously you are too.
Yeah, we are too. And you want to think that your business is going to be worth suing, you know?
I hope that never happens. I hope all the licensing fees that I have paid for, I'm covered, and that I am doing the right thing. You know, I have my teacher liability insurance. I have the studio business insurance. I make sure all of my teachers have liability insurance. Seeing everyone all of a sudden go online to teach during the shutdown, I was like, you guys are all playing music and this is a problem.
It's got to be a calculated risk, unfortunately, but yeah.
Yes. I mean, usually you'd be issued a cease and desist notice,
right.
Pay this amount of money, basically a fine, going to be a lot higher than if you had just paid it from the start. So I was like, I'm just paying this.
So where did you get the name Studio86?
I went through a lot of names trying to figure out what name I could use for a website that doesn't have a location attached to it, that is not gender specific, and is not a frou-frou sounding name. And then I would just ask friends. I'm like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And out of the ones that they liked, I looked them up in the USPTO database to make sure that they were not already trademarked or in use by someone else. And everyone liked Studio86. It just kind of rolls, and I could put it anywhere I wanted.
Right.
So for a website, it made far more sense. There's no specific style of fitness associated with Studio 86. And I know in the restaurant industry, 86 is like you get rid of something, you kind of get rid of your old fitness routine type.
Nice.
I like it.
Thing. Yeah, so that kind of stuck. Everyone seemed to respond well to that and like that a lot. Hopefully they weren't lying to me because it's trademarked now and this is called. The other challenge was designing my logo because I designed it myself. I used a Canadian company called logojoy.com and I was like, oh, this is fun, and just played with different colors and shapes and sent my friends a whole bunch of different options and they're like, yeah, this looks great. Like, okay, that's the one.
Yeah, I love it. You picked great colors, and I loved that you had an idea of what you wanted this studio to be, rather than, because we talked about this earlier, you can't appeal to everybody. And so you pick the type of client that you want, the type of classes that you want to offer. It seems like you want this to be very accessible to everybody. You don't want it to be too ethereal, if you will, and you want to appeal to people that are just interested in kind of personal journey of fitness. You had that narrow focus before you even designed anything, and it really shows.
Thank you. I'm glad. One of the things I dislike about the fitness industry is that it's only meant for skinny white chicks. That's not what I wanted to put out into the world. Most people would call me a skinny white chick. Okay, fine. That is literally what I look like. Yes, I teach fitness. Great. But most of the people I'm going to teach are 40 and older, of all gender identities and all skin tone. Everyone should feel welcome if they want to be here. So if you like my classes and you want to be in this community, you're going to feel welcome. Like, part of my studio policy is to not hate. It literally says that in my studio policies, that you cannot degrade someone, insult someone, or you're out. Like, I will fire you as a client. I'm not even going to bat an eye about it.
Did you see that a lot in LA or something? I mean, I must not be familiar. I don't come across.
I wouldn't say it's an extreme issue. I would say it's worse in the dance community. Getting better, but definitely a little more judgy as a dancer. So coming from that and fitness, where everything is about visual aesthetic on the surface. And a lot of people have a hard time getting past that hurdle of, I don't look like this person, so I can't do this thing. I don't want people to feel they have to look a certain way to do physical activity. You should do physical activity because it makes you feel good. It adds to your overall health and you have fun doing it.
If you have that policy set up and your teachers know that that's your policy, it's
really good culture.
Yeah, it's a great culture, and I think your clients will see that. I have one more question.
Okay.
If you were to either do this process again of setting up this business, or you were talking to somebody that was doing it for the first time, what would be like the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Assuming they are someone who is a doer, they're not the entrepreneur that's just, I'm going to talk about ideas and then not actually act on anything, is to really know what you love and then move forward with that. Because if you are doing something into a business, making something, creating something, what have you, into a business, and you don't love it, it's not going to work, because everyone else who sees that is also not going to love it because you don't love it.
That is such great advice, and that is something that I personally really struggled with. I think maybe just being an actor, you're just kind of used to doing different things. Oh, I can do anything or whatever. But when things are really a struggle, if you love it, the struggle's actually less.
Because obviously you're competing with the big franchises, and your niche is just the quality, the community, the psychology that you're setting up, and obviously the love for your product, and it's going to show through. So
yeah.
Where can people find you online if they want to take your classes?
Studio86fitness.com. I have like scheduling for live stream. There's the online studio for anyone who wants to subscribe to be an online member.
But this was so much fun, Heather. Thank you so much.
Congratulations on the success.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, I'm personally bummed you're not in California anymore, but that's fine.
I miss everyone out there for sure.
But thank you for taking the time and talking to us today.
Yeah, of course.
But we'll have to come by Columbus
I know, when we can travel.
when we can.
Thank you so much for watching. And what'd you think?
It was so good for beginning entrepreneurs and people trying to do anything during COVID. We touched on all the issues. I mean, both us and Heather have dealt with COVID and building businesses and coming up with new ideas and dealing with government loans and things through this COVID process, and really touched on all those things. So
absolutely,
really good for the startup.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's very impressive, and I think she has such a great attitude about actually just business in general, really how to move forward, and she really believes in her product and everything. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
I was very confident in herself and knows what she wants and is really building that into her product and her business. So that was really awesome to see.
So we are going to put links to her studio in the description, but if you would like to obviously see what she's doing or even take some classes, it's studio86fitness.com. And also I would highly recommend also following her on Instagram, because she does put up a lot of the business building information just to kind of keep everybody in the loop. So it's actually very interesting to go back and see her process.
So 86, those old fitness habits, studio86fitness.com.
Thank you so much for watching, and make sure that you like and subscribe and share this with anybody that you think might benefit from it. And if you have any questions, please email us or put it in the comments and we will try to help you. Thank you.